What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Quick 60 Sports. Today, I just want to give you analysis and predictions on the Bengals versus the Rams Super Bowl game. And if you go back and watch my prior video to the predictions, I predicted the Bengals +4, and I gave you some reasons why. And the final score ended up being the Rams 23-20. So the Bengals did cover that +4. It was a little bit closer than it should have been, but I'm going to give you some reasons why as well. So first, the Bengals were shut out in the fourth quarter, which is really surprising. They've been a second half team all season long, and Joe Mixon was running the ball really well as well. And, they ended up getting shut out, and it was kind of surprising, to be honest. Joe Burrow, he didn't turn the ball over, but, they couldn't convert on third down. That was honestly the difference in the game. Both stats were pretty similar. The Rams actually were more fortunate than the Bengals with turnovers and et cetera on the offensive side of the ball and still coming away with a win. So Stafford, he was 26 for 40, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. One obviously at the end of the half, around halftime, second quarter, to Jesse Bates in the end zone. That could have been 3 points, possibly for a field goal, but ended up turning the ball over there. And then the other one was off of, I believe, the backup tight end's hands and ended up an interception, and that wasn't Stafford's fault. So Stafford played magical. Oftentimes he was looking through his progressions really quickly and ended up having to check the ball down to the running back oftentimes because of the two deep shell look that the Bengals were giving them. And I thought they were going to roll Von Bell down more often in the box, but actually they played 2 high safeties quite often against the Rams because they didn't want to get beat deep, which ended up happening. Obviously, the first touchdown of the game to Odell, and he was lined up in the slot. It was almost a smash combination look almost, and they had the safety over the top, still in the middle of the field, and poor corner for the Bengals. Eli Apple, he just got ate up a little bit last night in the Super Bowl game, and Odell ate him up, and then Cooper Kupp was eating him up in the second half, and so you got to have more help for Eli Apple, and especially with Odell out of the game. So the Rams actually did not run the ball very good at all, and somehow they still came away with the win. And I figured it was going to be a defensive struggle. I picked the under on the game, and it was the under. And so Akers had 13 carries for 21 yards. That was the leading rusher for the Rams. No one else had over 10 carries for the Rams. And so they kind of abandoned the run as, Sean McVay had to figure out something else to do because the run wasn't working. They were stuffing them, and the Bengals defensive line was playing stellar. And, honestly, he had to mix up, Cooper Kupp with the jet sweep, and they tried the Philly special, and that didn't work on fourth down, but they had to try to do something to get some momentum because Bengals defense was actually playing really well. Cooper Kupp, he had 8 catches for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. Actually, surprisingly, the Bengals held him in check. Uzi played pretty well for the most part in the game. Like I said, the Bengals typically lock down the number 1 receiver for the most part, but that game-ending drive in the fourth quarter, that it was just Stafford and Kupp. They had a robber coverage underneath, and they had Kupp basically almost double teamed, and they were still getting on the ball. So he got a lot of yards on that drive as well. But Kupp is a special player. That back shoulder throw to him in the end zone was great too. Ernest Jones, he led the Rams defense with 6 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and a sack. So, like I said, the defensive line is their strong point for the Rams. Their secondary was kind of the weak point, but they played actually pretty decent this game. Joe Burrow on the Bengals side, he was 22 for 33, 263 yards. So pretty close to Stafford, and he only had 1 touchdown because Joe Mixon threw that other touchdown. Mixon, by the way, he was 15 for 72 rushing yards. He was actually running the ball really well in the game. I don't know why he only had 15 carries. I probably would have had him, especially when we had the lead, I would have had him around 20, 25 carries in the game. But, they had that zone scheme working, and the Rams linebacker, like I said, it was kind of their weak point, and they were overplaying it. He was cutting it back behind those linebackers that were over pursuing. Burrow, he only had 2 carries for 3 yards. I think that's a big deal as well, because especially when the Rams were playing 2 deep coverage, and playing, two man and so forth, that they had running lanes. He did convert that big fourth down on a run, but to keep the drive alive. But 2 carries for 3 yards. Joe Burrow usually typically makes more things happen than that. And so the Rams defensive line did a great job of containing Joe Burrow, making him stay in the pocket and not be able to escape for big gains, or even extend the play to throw the ball down the field. That really didn't happen too much either. T. Higgins led the Bengals with 4 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in the game. And, Jamar Chase had that big catch as well down the sideline against Ramsey. And Higgins had that long touchdown against Ramsey. And so you think Ramsey kind of got ate up, but realistically, those 2 big throws accounted for probably well over almost 100 yards of Joe Burrow's passing yards. And so without those, Joe Burrow is roughly at like 150 yards passing for the game. So the Rams did a pretty good job of doing what they needed to do against Joe Burrow. Obviously sacks played a big deal. The Rams had 7 sacks against Joe Burrow. Aaron Donald played like a monster. Von Miller played great as well. And on those pick stunts, those twists with Von Miller going inside against the guard. And the Bengals only had 2 sacks against Stafford. So that was kind of a big deal. And honestly, though, the first half was okay. The Bengals held up and they didn't give up too many sacks. I think maybe 1 sack on Joe Burrow, maybe 0 in the first half. And in the second half, they just kind of exploded. The Rams defensive line did. The biggest key in the game, though, was that third down percentage. So the Rams, they converted 40% on third down, and the Bengals only converted 21%. So that was a huge number. And I think that was the difference in the game as far as third down percentage goes. And, both teams actually were pretty aggressive on fourth down, going for it on their own side of the field a couple times. The Rams actually left Jalen Ramsey on the wide receiver most of the game. He wasn't shadowing Jamar Chase. And so that's why he gave up that big touchdown to T. Higgins. But, I just, I think they could have played a little differently, but the Rams just left Ramsey on that side of the field, and they were kind of bracketing and playing 2 men against on the other side of the field, which is fine. Stafford, he was locked in with his progressions. Like I said, he was moving quickly and looking left, throwing right, looking right, throwing left. And he didn't feel as much pressure in the pocket as Joe Burrow did, I feel like. The Rams couldn't run the ball, but I was surprised that they didn't send Cooper Kupp in motion more after, especially with the jet sweep, and then send him in motion, fake the sweep, and then run the ball with Darrell Henderson and company, Sony Michel, Cam Akers, because that's typically what they do. And honestly, like I said, they were bracketing and playing robber coverage on Cooper Kupp. So if you send him in motion, that definitely helps Cooper Kupp get open as well in the play action. So I was surprised that McVay didn't send him in motion as much or as typical as they do in the regular season. And, Eli Apple, he got exposed this game as well. And, wherever he was, basically whatever receiver he was on, that's where they were going to. And then the Rams also tried to expose Logan Wilson, the linebacker, out of the backfield with Darrell Henderson and company. So, on the wheel routes, and it was open, and Stafford was making some great throws as well to the running backs out of the flats. They were running wheel routes and such, but that Logan Wilson tried his best as well, but it just wasn't enough at the end of the day. All right, guys, stay tuned for my other updates. I just wanted to give you an analysis and post-game analysis to the Super Bowl. Give me a thumbs up if you like my page and my news updates. I'll be on as well for some more health and NFL updates in the coming days. All right, guys, till next time. Peace.